This ain't advice. I'm not your advisor. And as they say in the biz, slap that subscribe button. We're only about 100,000 away from 1,000,000. We're almost there. Well, hello. Today, some kind of red wine. Maybe a blend. Not sure. Let's get into some questions. Father unknowingly withdrew all of his traditional IRA fund after he retired. What? As you can tell from the title. My dad called me from his tax guy's office telling me he has to pay an enormous amount of tax. He withdrew his whole IRA fund in 2019. He's facing a tax bill shock. Now it's time to file his taxes. Yeah, that's all ordinary income. You told him he should have consulted with a CPA or talked to you before doing such a big financial decision. He's not the most financially savvy person. You want to know if there's anything you can do to reverse it. You know, he has 60 days to do a rollover, but it's been more than 60 days already. Boy, that is quite an interesting situation. Man, once you do that, I don't know if there's any way to undo it. If there is, I think the CPA would know or be able to figure it out. But I've never heard of withdrawing an entire IRA and then being able to put it back, other than if there was some sort of like clerical error. I'm sure there'd be some remedy, but it's unusual, and I wish you luck. But hopefully, if nothing else, maybe your dad will be sure to get some advice before he makes big moves. Yeah, good luck. Should I buy a house so my parents can rent it from me? So you're 25, you live in New York City, you rent. You've got $67,000 in student loans. Oh, private, another 36 in federal. And you make about $60K a year. Your parents live in Maryland. Work as freelancers in construction. I don't really know what that means. And pay $1,800 in rent each month. The rent's a bit high. They're considering other rentals, but most places are smaller. Their credit isn't good enough to buy a home. They thought you owning the house would be a good investment that can help them. Throwing away money. All right, so throwing away money on rent is a misconception. It's not throwing away money. You're nervous because your existing debt is so high. Yeah, man, I don't think you would qualify. And where would you guys get a down payment? How much would it cost to buy the kind of house your parents are renting right now? Have you figured that out? I'd start there and see if you could even possibly approach this before even worrying any more about it. But yeah, I mean, you're already at double your income in debt. Even if you did qualify, it's hard to think it would be a good idea. I mean, how much extra cash flow do you have after you're done paying your rent, your expenses? I wouldn't be going down this road. That seems like a real mess. How can I prepare for a future financial stability? Hey, everyone, you've been in the U.S. for 8 years. Oh, welcome. You come from a country where you work to make it through the day and there's not much retirement planning. Coming to the U.S. has been a culture shock. You don't make a lot of money right now, but in 2020, you want to work on your finances and planning. You want to make smart choices. You're 32, you got a stable job. You've been working at the job for about 4 years. You're listing just your income, but you're married and you split the mortgage and bills. Okay. Your wife's got more in her 401k. Since you just started yours at your current job, so you make about $40,000. Your 401k's got about $5K in it. You're contributing $2,000 a year. You got a pension. You don't know how the pension works, but on the paperwork it says that you might get $32,000. I assume that's per year. You got $6,000 in savings, and you're putting away about $800 a month. Hey, that's a great start, is having that emergency fund savings there. And I'd say, this year, something you could work on doing is find out exactly how that pension works. Most common way, at least in my experience, that a pension works is there'll be a calculation. And if you end up working at a place for the maximum amount of years, usually they're 25 or 30, then they take the highest average 3 years of your salary. So it's basically the last 3 years for almost everybody. And whatever that average number is, you get 100% of that or some percent of that. And if you work for less than 25 or 30, whatever the max is, then they scale it down because you haven't worked there long enough. But my guess is that what they're saying is their cap is something like 75% of your earnings. And so if you work there for 30 years at age 65, you get that $32,000. So I'd say figuring out how that works, that should be on your list for 2020. You want to understand that. Let's see what else. Debt mortgage, about $100,000 at 465. Okay, a little high. It's 30 years. You got a small car loan, which will be paid off pretty soon. You know you should contribute more to your 401k, you're saying, but you don't think you can increase it until next year. When you say that, do you mean like you don't think you're literally allowed to, or you don't think you can because you're paying off the mortgage? It's fine, or the car loan. It's fine if it's you don't want to because you're paying off the car loan. But most 401k plans let you update how much you're deferring, how much you're saving in the 401k. Most of them let you do it once a month now, but at least 2 times a year is the fewest that I've ever seen. So you might be able to actually change it. You're thinking about paying an extra $200 on your mortgage. According to a mortgage calculator, if you pay an extra $200, you'd be done in 12 years. Is that right? I'm just going to take your word for it. I'm not going to run the numbers. Well, I'll run the numbers. Hang on. All right, so I'm not getting the same numbers as you. I get 16 years. It's possible my numbers are off, but I doubt it. As far as the idea of paying down the mortgage faster or refinancing, it's unlikely that refinancing on a $100,000 mortgage is going to work. Then the numbers are going to work out in your favor, just because usually it costs like $3,000 to $5,000 to do it, and it'd be pretty tough to save that much on interest. If you could really just pay it off faster, it would probably be better. If you're definitely going to stay in the house until it's paid off in like 16 years, maybe it would make sense if you get a really nice rate like 3.25 or something like that. I don't know if you're eligible. It might have to be like a 15-year loan, but if you're thinking about paying it off that fast, maybe it would work. You're only making $41,000, which isn't bad, but I probably wouldn't tie down any more cash flow. I'd probably, rather than putting more money in the mortgage, be inclined to put more money in the 401k since you're just starting off getting that savings going. But everything you're thinking about makes sense. It's all reasonable. I wouldn't hate any of the decisions that you'd make. Sounds like you're doing a really good job.